Had to sneak that on at the last second. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am known as the Front Porch Conservative. Sometimes I go by the title, the Beau and the Chapeau. Sometimes the Wise Guy and the Wide Brim. But as always, I am known as your host. Welcome to Chattin on the Porch, the solo show. Good to see everybody out there. We are on YouTube, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter. So if you haven't done it yet, please do me a favor and send out a link, send out a tweet, a getter, a gab, whatever you got out there. Tell everybody, come on in. Glad to have you. It's going to be fun this evening. We've got an interesting little shoe, as Ed Sullivan used to call it. And if you're old enough to remember that reference, we can be friends. Anyway, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to Chattin' on the Porch, our during the week review of items in the news. And there's quite a few things to talk about tonight. And I come hopefully with a message of hope, but we'll get into that momentarily. Let's see who all's hanging out with us so far. She's waiting patiently. Hello, my dear. And hello to this lady, Your Highness. The 199. Over on Rumble, we've got TBA says, no, WWG1 says streamers are not allowed to be late. A streamer is never late, nor are they early, TBA. We arrive precisely when we mean to. Or something like that. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. It is so good to have you here this evening. Hello, you wonderful Connecticut lady. We're so glad to have you here in the house. Let's start dropping the volume on the music and we'll get down to business. Oh goodness, what a day. I tell you what, 2024 never fails to disappoint. There's not a day that goes by that something's not happening. And it is in that vein that I come to you this evening, your humble host, and I bring you hopefully tidings of good joy. At least I think it's good joy, but we'll see what we can do to share some news with you that hopefully gives you some small comforts and makes you feel a little bit better. And we'll analyze it to see if we can figure out what's going on. Good evening, Small Time Republic. Glad to have you here. Yeah, I guess we will find out. We will find out. I tell you what, that's a great question. I tell you what, Zionist, I have no idea at this point. I really don't know. I mean, you would think that sooner or later this thing's got to reach a crescendo. And normally I would say the election in November, but I'm not even sure we hit the crescendo at the election because there's all kinds of chicanery afoot, or it's rumored to be afoot, on the part of the opposition party. And we'll get into that a little bit this evening. So it's going to be a wild ride. Buckle up, Buttercup. It is something to behold. Well, I said that I would start out with bringing you some good tidings, and I would like to share some of that with you. Now, I don't know how much y'all watch it or pay attention to it when the news comes out about it, but over the weekend, some polling dropped that absolutely caused everybody in the mainstream media and the Democrat Party to drop their false teeth. Or if they didn't drop their false teeth, they ran into a door jam because the news made them so crazy that they probably needed false teeth after it was said and done. I take you to the pages of realclearpolitics.com. This is from over the weekend from CNN, not Newsmax, not Breitbart, not, the People's Pundit, Rich Barris, CNN. In a head-to-head between Trump and Biden, Trump's got a 6-point lead. If you throw in the other candidates, that lead expands out to 9%. And depending upon where you go around the battleground states, it gets even crazier. Now, that would have been bad enough, okay? That would have been bad enough, but then more polling starts dropping, and it's getting even worse. Going back to Real Clear Politics, the Harvard-Harris poll dropped on Monday. Trump, head-to-head Biden, 4-point lead. Throw in the other candidates, it expands out to 7. And today, it's even worse than all of that. And here is where the fun starts. The battleground states are in. And this, to me, is fascinating. I'm going to go through each one of these And then I'm going to show you the upshot of where the real clear politics average of polls are between Biden and Trump nationwide. Let's start with Georgia. As I said, there's individual battleground polling out right now. If you take the average of everybody who's polled this race over the past month and a half, Trump's got a 6-point lead in Georgia. Now, I add one very important caveat to all of this. Actually, two of them. Number one, we are 6 months to the election. Number two, I will never, ever again underestimate the Democrats' capacity for election fornication. Okay? My point is this. Yeah, he's got an average of a 6-point lead, depending on whose polls you look at and if you lump them all together. Keep in mind, you will never go broke underestimating the ability of a Democrat to engage in election fornication. So just keep that in mind. Over on Rumble, we've got comments from TBA. I heard the Wicked Witch, governor of Michigan, got booed during the draft. Oh, that's true. I do not have that pulled up, but I tell you what. If somebody can find that, tweet it at me, and I'll throw it up here because that's definitely worth talking about. I think that was funny as all get out. Over WWG1 says Summer of Love 2.0 on the way. That is absolutely true, and it's already begun. We'll get to some of that in a little bit too. All right, back to the polling. That's Georgia. Go down the line. This is Nevada. And Trump, and this is I'm not going to lie to you, this is the one that shocks me the most. If you take all the polls that have been run since the beginning of March to now, so you're talking about basically a 3-month period, Trump's got a 7.5-point lead in Nevada. And the reason this one shocks me so bad, Nevada is traditionally considered to be a Democrat state, or it has been probably since at least the mid 2000s, the aughts, as they call it. And in part, that's due to the old political machine of the late U.S. Senator Harry Reid. Reid was fantastic at it. He could deliver Nevada, no problem. He might have had some tight races, but he could deliver Nevada. But Reid is gone. His political machine's breaking down because he's not there to be the enforcer. And there you go. Now, 7.5-point lead. That's Nevada. So we looked at Georgia. We looked at Nevada. Where is... Yep, there it is, Arizona. Thought I had that one pulled up. Trump with a 4.5-point lead. Again, taking into all the polls done between the beginning of March to now. So let's just assume for a second that the election were tomorrow. And again, anything can happen. I am cognizant of that fact. Okay? But if the election were tomorrow, all things being equal, I'd say that Trump wins back Georgia and Arizona, and he picks off Nevada. If that's the case, then he only needs one more state. And it could be any of the following. It could be Wisconsin, it could be Michigan, it could be Pennsylvania. Well, that gets us to the following. Let's talk about it. Michigan. Now, it's tight as a tick if you believe Michigan polling. But if you take the average, Trump's got a very slight, and I mean very slight, lead. And remember, when he won Michigan in 2016, it was by like, what was it, 10,000 votes? So if Michigan comes back to Trump, that one wouldn't surprise me. Wisconsin. Trump's doing a little better, if you believe the polls. You got an average lead of about almost 2 points. That wouldn't surprise me either. Pennsylvania. Trump's got a lead of about 1.5. So where does that leave the national race between everybody? Well, let's get into it. If you just take head-to-head Trump versus Biden and nobody else, okay, then here's what you're looking at. Trump's got a nationwide lead of about 1.5 points. Now, you say to yourself, well, that doesn't seem like very much when you look at all the states. Yeah, but you have to remember something. The national vote is offset by the populations of California, New York, Illinois, major states, but particularly California and New York. Okay. So I'm not surprised that Trump has a smaller lead nationally than he otherwise would in some individual states. But that said, you have to stop and consider something. And Small Time Republic pointed this out months ago, and he's absolutely right. The last time that a Republican won the national vote in a presidential election was 2004 when George W. Bush beat John Kerry. It's been 20 years. Ain't nobody done it since. You also have to keep something else in mind. And this is the working theory of one of my favorite pollster out of them all, Rich Barris. In order for Biden to win this election in the Electoral College, realistically speaking, and this is Barris's theory, and I can't say that he's wrong, Biden has got to win the national vote by at least 4 points. If he wins it by anything less than that, he loses the Electoral College. And the reason for that is he can get all the votes that he wants to out of California. But if Biden can't win individual states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, Florida, etc., then you can get all the votes in California he wants and it doesn't matter. And I've got to find this because I said I would do it. Give me 1 second here, folks. I saw where TBA shot this thing over to me. Hang on. Speaking of Michigan, this is just too priceless. Hang on. Yep, somebody shot it to me, I think. Oh yeah. Here we go. Give me 1 second here, folks. So the governor, and I want to thank Ruben Christopher Haynes for shooting this over to me. I know people have been sending it to me, but I found it in my inbox. So the governor of Michigan, the NFL draft was held in Detroit, Michigan this year. I want you guys to hear this because the governor came out to announce a pick or something like that. Folks, do me a favor and check this out because I think you're going to laugh.
To announce the Detroit Lion election, please welcome Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, also known as Big Gretch.
All right, Detroit, let's hear it.
Are you really sure you want to hear that, Gretchen?
Detroit. We have shown the world what the Motor City is all about.
Boy.
And it is my honor to announce that the 2024 NFL Draft has now broken the all-time record.
Yeah, whoopee for you. But yeah, old Gretchen got booed almost out of the place. Funny. Very funny indeed. Oh, come on. Why aren't you coming back up there? What's the matter with you? Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's see what everybody's thinking about some of what we said. TBA over on Rumble says Harry Reid probably cheated like hell. That he did. Hey, Leah. Good to have you here, darling. Good to have you here. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Now, I got to admit, I'm not going to say you're wrong, but RFK is going to chew into some vote, and it's probably going to be Trump's. But then again, it also depends, too, upon what state we're talking about. We shall see. Going back to Gretchen Whitmer, yeah, relatable. Yeah. So absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you there. Thank God for the Electoral College. It always cracks me up. Democrats are trying to take away the Electoral College. And if to me, it's either they're ignorant or stupid or both, which you can make an argument they're both. But to me, if you're talking about democracy and letting the little guy have a say, then you want the Electoral College. I mean, I'll give you the perfect example of why the Electoral College is so important. And I cite this one on any number of different occasions. The 2000 election, everybody was all about Florida, Florida, Florida. Hanging Chads, Supreme Court. Gore got cheated. Bush shouldn't have won, yada, yada, yada. And while Florida was, in the end, very important, I will make an argument that there was one more state than Florida, even more important. West Virginia. Now, you may sit there and say, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. West Virginia doesn't have the population that other states do. It's not nearly as big. It doesn't have that many electoral votes. That is absolutely true. But West Virginia did something in the 2000 election that she had not done since 1928. She voted for a Republican in a non-incumbent presidential year. Hadn't happened since Herbert Hoover. That meant our 5 electoral votes were, in the end, were the votes that put W over the top. Oh, yeah, it took Florida. It took a court decision in Florida. But if he doesn't win West Virginia, Gore wins the presidency. That's why the Electoral College is so important. It allows for smaller states who have less population to be just as important in the election of a president. I mean, every time and somebody brings up Florida and the 2000 election to me, I'm like, well, okay, that's nice. But if you don't have West Virginia, Bush doesn't win. There's a lot of reasons why I love the Electoral College, and that is my go-to example for why we should never get rid of it. TBA says Dems want to take away the Electoral College because they can't win a real Democratic election. No, they have won election straight up. No, I'm saying they didn't engage in some election fornication doing it, but yeah, they've won some straight up elections. Yeah. So yeah, I find it. I want to bring that polling information to you, which, by the way, when you hear me say that the Democrats are losing their collective minds over this polling, I got to show you something. And I have no doubt you guys have seen this. I want to show you 2 clips from my favorite Democrat consultant, the legendary James Carville, the Ragin' Cajun himself. This dropped, I guess, after the oral arguments that went on at the Supreme Court on the question of Trump versus U.S., the presidential immunity case, and Carville went off. I got to play you 2 clips because these are absolutely hysterical. Folks, take a listen to some of this. This will crack you up. This first one runs about 17 seconds. Check this out.
If they get a hold, there will be no government left. There will be no rights left. You'll live under theocracy. You'll end up Christian nationalism. But that's all right, you little fucking 26-year-old. You don't feel like the election's important to me. They're not addressing the issues that I care about.
Well, now, I have to say, in one sense, James is right, because he goes on to cite a poll, because right now everybody's all about, Israel, Palestine, and student loans. Well, according to this poll that Carville's talking about, out of 15 issues among young people, those 2 issues rate almost among the lowest. But just his reaction to what's going on is cracking me up. There's one more clip from Carville, and this runs about 30 seconds, but it's worth every bit of it. Folks, if you want to laugh for the evening, do me a favor and check this out.
You are being insufficiently served by the commentariat, and to some extent, you're being insufficiently served through Democratic messages. So my advice to tell these young people to get off your motherfucking ass and go vote. because you should vote like your entire future, and the entire future of this United States depends on it, because quite frankly, it does. And that's not an exaggeration.
Ooh, he's feeling he's, oh boy, ate his Cheerios this morning, didn't he? Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, you got to stop and think about this from the Democrats' perspective. Okay. Now let's think about this. I mean, look, and I'm gonna do this. Put it this way: whether you like Trump, don't like Trump, hate his guts, think he's the second best thing to Jesus, I don't care. Just stop and consider the following. The man has 4 different indictments going against him around the country, all the way from New York down to Florida and everywhere in between. About 91 different charges he's indicted on, that if he were convicted of everything, we're talking hundreds, now I'm not joking about this, not decades, hundreds of years in jail. He would be in jail for the rest of his natural life. He would die behind bars. Okay. Arthur Engeron tried to strip him of half a billion dollars of assets. Another judge ruled in a case against him, costing him $81 million. Letitia James has hounded him worse than a bloodhound. The man they're trying to strip him, or some Democrats are trying to strip him of Secret Service protection. That idea has been floated. I'm not saying they've done it yet, but it's been floated. He has been reviled, ridiculed, accused of being a treasonous insurrectionist. He has been called, he's been called everything imaginable. And in spite of all of that, or maybe even because of it, Donald Trump is holding a lead in the polls. Now, if you're a Democrat, and I'm sorry if you are, my apologies. I'll pray for you. But if you're a Democrat and you have thrown everything and the kitchen sink at this guy, and nothing at this point is doing pardon my French, a damn thing to him politically. Oh, you're slowing him down. You're confining him to a courtroom up in New York City. You're limiting his ability to get out on the campaign trail. You're forcing him to, put resources toward a legal defense. But you're not stopping the guy. It reminds me so much of that great line from Rocky II, one of my favorite movies. They're sitting around in Apollo Creed's office, and his trainer, Apollo's trainer, is trying desperately to talk Apollo out of a rematch with Rocky Balboa. Okay. And finally, after hearing all this, Apollo looks at his trainer, Duke, I think it was his nickname in the movie, and says, Tony, what's the matter with you? And Apollo's trainer puts his hands on Apollo's desk and says, I saw you beat that man like you have never beaten anybody before. And the man kept coming after you. He said, this man is all wrong for you. You don't want him. That's where the Democrats are with Trump. And the worst part about it is they're running out of time. If you're not watching Rich Barris's live streams on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I strongly recommend it to you. Even if you're not able to watch them live, go pick them up, because he will drop pearls of wisdom all the time about polls and polling industry. And there's one thing he keeps saying, and it's starting to become a trend. And that's just it, the word trend. You might see some fluctuation in the polls as far as the numbers, but there's a trend line that's going on here. And the trend is this: you would much rather be in Donald Trump's position than you would Joe Biden's, because that trend line has certain elements to it. Now, matter of fact, let me find it real fast, because there's one more thing that I saw this evening getting ready for the live stream. If I can find this real fast. Oh, come on. Where are you at? Where are you? Hang on, y'all. I gotta find this. I have got to find this. You want to know why most voters are not really paying attention to what's going on? Check this out. This is from Breitbart. Poll: most voters believe Democrats engage in lawfare in Trump trials. Article by Nick Gilbertson. This ran yesterday. Most voters think Democrats are using the government and legal system in biased ways to politically damage former President Donald Trump, according to a Harvard-Harris poll. This is in that poll that came out yesterday. A majority of 57% said they believe Democrats are engaged in lawfare against Trump, while 43% believe the prosecutions are both fair and apolitical. Of Republicans, 83% think the legal system and the government are being used to damage Trump. 31% of Democrats, and watch this, 57% of independents feel the same. The American people are a lot smarter than the Democratic Party give them credit for being. And when I say smarter, I'm not necessarily meaning, I don't want to phrase this. There's an inherent common sense to the American people. That's not to say that they're maybe up on every issue, because let's be honest about it. They're out there trying to work their job. They're trying to make money. They're trying to raise their family. They're trying to, do everything they can to keep everything in their lives as normal and sane as possible. Trying to raise their kids or trying to do whatever. But they are commonsensically smart. Give them a problem and tell them that they need to try to resolve it, and they will come up with some miraculous things you never even thought they'd ever think of, things that you never would have thought of. That's the American people. They have an ingenuity and a common sense to them that's extraordinary. And when you're trying to do one thing and then you tell them it's something else, the American people, as part of that inherent common sense, have a fabulous BS detector. They can smell it. They can smell it when someone's trying to put one over on them. And that's exactly what they're looking at. Yeah, on that, you may be right. You may be absolutely right. Good to have you here, Night Zippy. Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on in the world right now. But I saw that. Now, one more thing about the polling, and I got to put this out here. Last night, Sean Hannity, who normally I don't pay that much attention to for various reasons, had a panel on which consisted of Ari Fleischer, who's the former press secretary to George W. Bush, Tommy Lahren, and more importantly, Mark Penn. Now, if you don't know anything about Mark Penn used to poll for Bill Clinton back in the 90s, he and Doug Schoen. And Mark is now the chairman of the Harvard-Harris poll. And he had an interesting explanation about why it is, one reason at least, that Biden's poll numbers are not doing that well against Trump, despite everything that's going on. And I got to play this for you because I thought this is fascinating. This runs almost 2 minutes. I'll stop it if I think we need to. But yeah, I think you're going to enjoy hearing this. So do me a favor and check this out.
Well, they've been indoctrinated, in these, quote, institutions of higher learning. Mark Penn, let me throw this to you. We have the leader of the free world now is basically incapable of leading, and he's abdicated America's role on the world stage, and frankly, he's stabbing, he's surrendered in the war on terrorism, stabbing our ally Israel in the back in the process. And these protests, you cannot tell me in any way politically help Joe Biden.
Well, no, they're not. They're not helping even the cause that they're protesting for, because most Americans look at these protests, they don't see any American flags there. They see quite the opposite, that they seem to be anti-American, anti-Israel, some of them even pro-Hamas. And it's really backfiring. There's been no change in American support for Israel and for getting the hostages out and for getting Hamas out of Gaza. And that has not changed, even though these things have gone on. But the more Joe Biden caters to the base of the party and to these demonstrators, his rating on this issue goes down, not up. I think he's made a major miscalculation there. The swing voters are looking for world leadership, and that means standing up to terrorists. That means hanging tough. That means solving some of these problems in the Mideast, and they don't see that yet. Now, look, a lot can happen, but that is not what the American voters are seeing today. And you're seeing these polls that were closing going the other way now and widening. And let me just make one last point. The biggest reason they're widening is that Joe Biden has a 44% job approval, and Donald Trump, when asked about his presidency, has a 55% job approval. Joe Biden has to close that gap, or it's going to be a tough race.
I think Mark Penn is absolutely on the mark with this. I really do. Oh yeah, I know. It was shocking that because normally he wouldn't do this. I think Mark Penn is absolutely right. Has anybody really heard? And if I'm wrong on this, y'all point it out to me. And I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to be partisan. I'm asking this question in honesty here. Has anybody really heard Joe Biden make a strong, definitive declaration about what ought to be happening on these college campuses in light of these protests right now? And again, I'm not asking that question to be, find a reason to, kick Joe Biden or find a reason not to kick him or whatever. I'm asking the question, does anybody seen anything, a strong declarative statement from Joe Biden condemning these protests and saying this has got to stop? You presidents out there at these colleges, you got to get a hold of this thing. Now, Mike Johnson, to his credit, went to Columbia, gave a very, powerful statement. Now, you could say it's for window dressing or whatever he wants, but you get my point. At least he did something. Trump's sitting in a courtroom, and whenever he comes out in front of a microphone, at least he did something. But you don't see it coming from Biden. I remember back to the 2020 campaign and, Trump's statement about Charlottesville was taken out of context. There are good people on both sides statement. I just wonder if this isn't turning into the same thing for Biden. I really am, because he won't. And like I say, if he has, fine. Just, somebody point it out, remind me, show me where it's at, whatever. That's fine. We can at least have that discussion. But he's not doing it. WWG1 over on Rumble says he was fighting with his dinner salad the other day, and the salad won. Same with the dinner roll. Well, if you can't beat the dinner salad, what are you gonna do? Jeez. TBA says the Dems and elites want the riots to take some of Trump's thunder. They're badly miscalculated, methinks. I'm gonna pull something up real fast. I didn't have this one on the list of things that I wanted, but I saw it as a headline. I thought, ooh, man, I really wished I'd have brought this one on. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Let me pull this up real fast. What do you guys think of this? This is from Politico. Biden enters his spring of potential unrest. Campus protests are peaking at the time when the president is set to give his commencement addresses. Dems fear it could be a problem. Well, that's probably a good fear. This is an article by Maya Ward and Jennifer Habercorn. The White House is staring down a spring of unrest, with Democrats growing ever fearful that the tensions flaring on college campuses could spiral into political poison for the president. Pro-Palestinian protests have spread at universities across the country, leading to increasingly sharp confrontations between local law enforcement, students, and fellow demonstrators. Inside the White House, aides are preparing for the likelihood that President Joe Biden will be on the receiving end of the demonstrations himself when he delivers 2 commencement addresses in the weeks ahead. There's also fear that the situation could worsen if the White House fails to secure a ceasefire deal in Gaza, where more than 34,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's war with Hamas. I'm trying to find, I wanted to see if they list them here. They are correct. He's only giving, here it is. The biggest test for Biden could come in the weeks ahead, with colleges set for summer break. There's an expectation that the campus protests may soon crescendo. I wouldn't bet on that. The president's team, meanwhile, has prepped Biden for disruptions during his graduation speeches at Morehouse College and West Point, though they feel confident in their ability to navigate them considering the routine disruptions that the president now faces on the trail. Now, of those two colleges that he's speaking at, if something happens at West Point, I will genuinely be shocked. Okay, I will. If he gets protested at West Point, I will be shocked. Okay, Morehouse College, on the other hand, and I'll be honest with you, I've never really heard of Morehouse College, so I don't know that much about it. I don't know where it's at. Whatever. But if he's going to get something happen to him, it's probably going to be at Morehouse College, and I almost bet you the White House is thinking the same thing. But I mean, even if it doesn't, I mean, keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of Democrat politicians that are out in the coming weeks giving commencement addresses. I mean, it's not just confined to the president. You're going to have Kamala Harris at some places. You're going to have, probably Chuck Schumer. You're going to have Nancy Pelosi. You're going to have any number of prominent national Democrats who are out at these colleges giving commencement addresses. Okay, you might be able to avoid that problem with Biden, but you're not going to be able to avoid it with everybody else. And I will go back to one thing that was said in that article, and I am not surprised that this was said. If there is an expectation that these protests are going to crescendo, hey, I got a piece of advice for Biden and other national Democrats. Don't hold your breath. Okay? And I'm serious about this. This isn't going to stop. I'm hearing reports, and I'm sure you guys are too. I'm hearing reports that some of these protests are being led by individuals who are not even students at the campus. Okay? They are professional agitators. Now, again, how true that is, I don't know. I have heard it reported. But, wouldn't surprise me at all if these protests just keep right on going. I think it was WWG1 over on Rumble who said the Democrats are looking for their Summer of Love 2.0. Don't be shocked if these college protests are exactly the beginning of that. No, I think we're small time. I think we're absolutely headed for one. I really do. I think we are absolutely headed for one. So, guys, be safe out there. I mean, I'm not saying do anything, wild and crazy, but, watch your back and watch out for yourselves and your loved ones and your families. Okay, here's a little information from Gypsy. Thank you. Morehouse College is a privately, historically black men's liberal art college in downtown Atlanta. Okay. All right. He might get some protests down there. And then on the other hand, it might very well be a thing that you have African Americans protesting him for the way they're treating Trump. Who can say? It's going to get real interesting. Really interesting. So before we pop over to our next topics, let me do a real quick commercial. My name is Brian Tripp, and I am the Front Porch Conservative. And this is Chattin on the Porch, our during the week review of items in the news. And, like I've been saying ever since January, man, there's not a day that goes by in this year that fails to disappoint. There is always something to talk about, and we're doing our best to bring it to you and give you all a chance to speak your mind about it as we gather on this electronic front porch. We are on Rumble, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitter. So God bless each and every one of you who's here tonight. This wonderful crowd. We got a bunch over there on Rumble. We got TBA and WWG1 and Gypsy. She's bouncing back and forth between the two. And per usual, we have some Rumble lurkers. And you lurkers over there on Rumble, we love you, But like I say, we don't bite. So just if you want to say something, go ahead. You ain't going to hurt my feelings. I love it when y'all get chatty, and over on YouTube, we got Small Time. We got M169. We got Seabass. We got Zippy. We got Up in Connecticut. We got Leanne. We got Gypsy. We got our usual U-Haul. We've got our normal assortment of casting characters and crew. So, glad to have each and every one of you here tonight. You guys are absolutely awesome. So let's shift gears a little bit. There was a story that I heard about that broke very late this evening. And yes, and TBA says, lurkers, please tickle the like button. Absolutely. Hit that thumbs up button, dag burn it. Love it when you do that sort of thing. Helps the old algorithm. So yeah, hit that thumbs up, daggone it. Or as there's somebody I need to have on here sometime. As old Camelot 331 says, get on it, doggone it. I love that guy. I love Cody. He's good. He's a good dude. I've never really had a conversation with him, but I need to get him on here for a reason. But no, another one of those million people I got to reach out to for an invite. So anyway, so Biden's having problems with his polling for any number of different reasons. And there's a story that broke at about, call it 4 or 5 o'clock this evening Eastern. And if this is true, oh man. Anyway, let's just put it up here and you guys want to talk about it. This is from CBS News. And let me see if I got this thing enlarged. Yeah, I guess I do. I guess times are tough over at CBS. Inflation is affecting their font size. White House considers welcoming some Palestinians from war-torn Gaza as refugees. Get ready for this, folks. Article written by Camilo Montoya Galvez. We have the following. The Biden administration is considering bringing certain Palestinians to the U.S. as refugees, a move that would offer a safe, permanent haven to some of the fleeing war-torn Gaza, according to internal federal government documents obtained by CBS. In recent weeks, the documents show, senior officials across several federal U.S. agencies have discussed the practicality of different options to resettle Palestinians from Gaza who have immediate family members who are American citizens or permanent residents. One of the proposals involves using the decades-old United States Refugee Admissions Program to welcome Palestinians with U.S. ties who have managed to escape Gaza and enter neighboring Egypt, according to the interagency planning documents. Top U.S. officials have also discussed getting additional Palestinians out of Gaza and processing them as refugees as if they were American, if they have American relatives, the documents show. Plans would require coordination with Egypt, which so far refused to welcome large numbers of people from Gaza. Those who pass a series of eligibility, medical, and security screenings would qualify to fly to the U.S. with refugee status, which offers beneficiaries permanent residency, resettlement benefits like housing assistance, and a path to American citizenship. Oh boy. Oh boy. While the eligible population is expected to be relatively small, the plans being discussed by U.S. officials could offer a lifeline to some Palestinians fleeing the Israel Hamas war, which local public health authorities say has claimed the lives of more than 34,000 people and displaced hundreds of thousands of civilians in Gaza. Okay, let's talk about this. Well, I already know where one of you stand on this thing. Don't hold back, dear. Tell me what you really think. Jeez. Okay. I'm just hearing about this myself, and I have not really had time to digest this and chew on it, digest it, and roll it around in my brain. But there's one line from that article which to me says a lot and probably ought to inform we Americans on what we ought to do here. Let me find it again because this. Here it is. Here it is. The plans would require coordination with Egypt, which so far has refused to welcome large numbers of people from Gaza. Okay. All right. I have a question for you guys, and I'm serious about this. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. If Egypt, who is right beside Gaza, will not let a large number of Palestinians into their country, why are we wanting to take a number of them and bring them over here? Now, I get it. Supposedly, it's a small number, okay? Supposedly, it's a small number. Why do I have a feeling the Biden administration's definition of small number is going to be way bigger than any of us ever thought about? Okay. And yeah, you make my point brilliantly. It's when your neighbors won't take you, you need to ask what exactly. Exactly. And here's another good point too. Really good point. Over on Rumble, TBA says maybe the lefties want more agitators to add to the campus riot pot. That's not a bad point. I mean, look, I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but yeah, I just look. There's no good guy, there's no bad guy. It's only you and me, and we just disagree. Okay? I just don't see how this is a good idea. I am extremely compassionate to what's going on for just the innocents in Gaza. Because look, are there a significant number of people in Gaza that probably hate the Jewish people? Yeah. But there's also probably a contingent of them, they just want to live their lives. They want to be left alone. They want to see their kids grow up. They want to have some measure of prosperity. At least I would think so anyway. And yet they can't do that for all this fighting that's going on over there, of which they had nothing to do with, by the way. They just happened to be in the way. They happened to be there. And like I say, I am extremely compassionate to the plight of the Palestinian people in Gaza. But this is a bad idea. Not now, not in the U.S. We have got a southern border that is absolutely being overrun. Absolutely being overrun with millions and millions of people. And then granted, let's just assume for a second that the Biden administration at this moment is absolutely telling the truth. It's a small number of Palestinians that they're wanting to bring over here. Okay, we can't even secure our own border. We don't even know if what's going on these campuses is directly tied or not tied to what's going on at the southern border. How do we know these agitators on these college campuses haven't come up across the southern border? And yet we're going to bring in more people and put them on the path to sit. And here's the other part that gets you. Those who would pass a series of eligibility, medical, and security screenings would qualify to fly to the U.S. with refugee status, which offers beneficiaries permanent residence, resettlement benefits like housing assistance, and a path to U.S. citizenship. It just, no, this is not the way. It's just not. This is a terrible idea. But knowing Biden, he'll do it. He will do it. Or try to anyway. So, I don't know. Now, I have a question out there for switching gears just ever so slightly. For those of you who have in the past, or perhaps are currently partaking of the herb, Mary Jane, marijuana, the wacky weed, whatever you want to call it, there is some news out there that's broken that just came out this morning, as a matter of fact. We're apparently about to change the classification on marijuana. Check this out. Headline from thehill.com. White House moving to reschedule marijuana. Was it scheduled for 9 a.m. or was it scheduled for 1 o'clock in the afternoon? I don't know. No one's telling me anything. I don't know. Anyway, article by Joseph Choi and Nathaniel Wexel. We have the following. The White House and the Department of Justice declined to comment, but a source familiar with the development confirmed it. The Associated Press first reported the development. If enacted, the measure wouldn't legalize marijuana. Rescheduling marijuana is distinct from descheduling it entirely, which some advocacy groups and lawmakers have called for, as it could still lead to legal action against those found to be in possession of it in states where the drug is not legal. This decision would also give President Biden a boost among young voters. There it comes. There it comes. Celinda Lake, a Democrat pollster and strategist who serves as president of Lake Research Partners, previously told The Hill that action on marijuana rescheduling would signal that Biden is a, quote, modern president. Oh my God, Celinda, come on. You know better than this. Girl, no, honey, you are way smarter than this, Celinda. Come on now. You know he ain't modern. But back to the article. Public opinion leans strongly in favor of marijuana legalization, with a Gallup poll from November finding a record 70% said they were in favor of it. A group of Democratic senators issued a letter to the DEA last week calling for marijuana to be descheduled entirely. Marijuana has been listed as a Schedule I drug for more than 50 years, meaning it has a high potential for abuse and no accepted medical use. Schedule III drugs are considered to have a moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence. Substances within this category include ketamine, anabolic steroids, and testosterone. Interesting. Earl Blumenauer, Democrat from Oregon, founder and co-chair of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus, said the move would bring the U.S. one step closer to ending the failed war on drugs. Quote, marijuana was scheduled for more than 50 years ago based on stigma, not science. The American people have made clear in state after state that cannabis legalization is inevitable, Blumenauer said. The Biden-Harris administration is listening. Well, there you go. I mean, look, I recognize that there are perfectly legitimate, medicinal uses for marijuana. I don't necessarily have a problem at the federal level, them doing this. I really don't. But the timing of it is what cracks me up. They're thinking about bringing Palestinians in. They're not saying anything about the protests going on campus, and now we're talking about descheduling marijuana. I smell a president trying to get in with the youth vote. We'll see. Yeah, and again, anything has the potential for abuse. I can see where Grobert is coming from on this. I haven't heard his comments, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he's going with it. Yeah, Biden's pandering on this. He's absolutely pandering. Gypsy over on Rumble says, "Did y'all see this? $3.5 billion slipped into Ukraine-Israel aid bill to supercharge mass migration from the Middle East. Wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. I really wouldn't." WWG1 says the states that are legalizing weed are still going against federal law. The feds are not going after the states. Why do you suppose that is? I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. Interesting. Well, Zippy, I'm not sure I do want to fight you on that one because you might be onto something, man. You might be onto something. So it's 8 o'clock. Time for a real quick commercial. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to Chattin on the Porch. We're just going over some items in the news. And I want to thank everybody who's here. We got a bunch over on Rumble. We got a whole bunch on Twitter, and an even bigger bunch on YouTube. So contrary to popular opinion, YouTube does not censor conservatives. Whoop! Oh, I'm so sorry. I had a case of temporary brain Tourette's. What was I thinking? Shame on me. Well, let's just say we've got a good number of viewers watching this live stream right now on YouTube, and I've got this. I have to say with pride, I have the smartest audience on the internet. Love each and every one of you, and glad you're here with us. So TBA says, "Did you crack 1,000 on YouTube yet?" No, not yet. Bouncing around at 900 at this point. We's trying, folks. We's trying. But anyway, let's shift gears. There is some Trump news related to his trials, and this one broke this morning, and I've got mixed. Dear, it's going to be this Thursday. It will be this Thursday, but I'll get back to this commercial at the end of the show, so hang on. There is some Trump trial news, and when this one broke this morning, I've got mixed feelings about this. Yeah, I do. I've got mixed feelings on this one, really. I do. Headline from Politico: Trump held in contempt for violating gag order in hush money trial, and the judge warned Trump that additional violations could land him in jail. Article by Ben Furherd and Erica Orden. Donald Trump was held in criminal contempt by Justice Juan Marchand. Oh, which by the way, I think I've got a nickname for him now. It's not that original or necessarily that fancy, but I do like it. I think I'm going to start calling him Don Juan Marchand. So I think I've got me a nickname for him, Don Juan Marchand. But yeah, let's get back to this. Justice Don Juan Marchand Tuesday morning held Donald Trump in criminal contempt for 7 social media posts and 2 statements on Trump's campaign website that violated a gag order imposed in his Manhattan criminal case. The judge ordered Trump to pay a $9,000 fine, $1,000 for each violation, and he warned Trump that additional violations could land him in jail. Quote, "Defendant is hereby warned that the court will not tolerate willful violations of its lawful orders and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose incarceratory punishment," the judge wrote in an 8-page decision. Before the hush money trial began in mid-April, the judge issued a gag order that bars Trump from publicly commenting about likely witnesses, jurors, and other people involved in the case. Prosecutors accused Trump of repeatedly violating the gag order in the days leading up to the trial and during the trial itself. Trump posted on social media messages attacking people, including Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, who are expected to be key witnesses for the prosecution. Okay, let's get into it. Oh, and hello, Dylan Soup. Glad to have you here. I don't know if this is your first time with us, but glad to have you. And yes, he does have some conflicts. So let's talk about this for a minute. For those of you who may not be familiar with what's going on, shortly before the trial got started, a gag order got put on Trump that he couldn't comment about certain witnesses, he couldn't comment about certain activities, etc. Well, that gag order got ratcheted up a couple of notches because it was found out that Judge Marchand's daughter, Lauren, works for a Democrat fundraising group out of Chicago, and there are 2 or 3 very prominent Democrats at the minimum, Adam Schiff of California and Vice President Kamala Harris, who have raised multi-millions of dollars in fundraising off of this trial, commenting on it. Well, that means Lauren Marchand is financially profiting from this, and she is the judge's daughter. So on its face, you got conflict of interest. Well, the district attorney for Manhattan, Alvin the Chipmunk Bragg, Alvin the Chipmunk goes into court and ups that gag order, and he wants it so that you can't even talk about members of Alvin Bragg's staff or his family or Judge Marchand's family or the judge or anybody else. So you can't talk about the witnesses like Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, who, by the way, have been going on TV about every chance they get to make commentary about the trial or about Trump or about everything else. They can talk about Trump with absolute impunity. They can say pretty much anything they want about Trump, the Trump organization, the Trump campaign, Trump as president, everything else, but Trump can't say boo one word. And if he does, now it's reached the point that the judge is slapping him with $1,000 every time you do it citations and threatening him with throwing him in the clink. Now, I say that I have mixed feelings about this, and y'all jump in on this anytime you want to here. Here's my mixed feelings on it. And I know what people are going to accuse me of. Oh, you're just simping for Trump. Now, that has nothing to do with it. Okay. I do feel a certain measure of compassion for the man. Okay. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here at all and try to, turn Donald Trump into some kind of messiah. Okay. That's not my intention here. And I'm not here to simp for Donald Trump or any other American politician. I don't care if it's Republican, Democrat, whatever. I don't care. That's not the point. But I do feel a certain measure of compassion for the man. Here you have a 77-year-old businessman who at one time served as president of the United States. And on most issues, did a very good job for a man who had never held public office before. Ever since he's left the presidency, he has been hounded. He has been maligned. I mean, a number of things. At a point in his life where most other men his age, having achieved the level of success in life that they have, having his children, having his grandchildren around him, ought to be able to, kind of kick your feet up and go, life is good. Instead, Trump's being, tried to strip him of his financial resources that he spent a lifetime earning. His First Amendment right to freedom of speech is being taken away. And now you've got a judge threatening to lock him up if he keeps on trying to exercise his right to freedom of speech. against a gag order, by the way, against a gag order that is blatantly unconstitutional, especially when you stop and think about the fact that Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen and everybody else involved in this case can say whatever they want in the press, and Trump can't say boo one word. So I feel bad for him in that respect. Now, taking off my ordinary guy fedora and putting on my political fedora, I gotta tell you, this judge is doing Donald Trump the biggest favor that Trump could ever possibly ask for. And I'm serious about this. Do I want to see Donald Trump, get fined? Granted, it's $1,000 an instance. It's not like we're talking like 81 million or 450 million. That's not what I'm talking about. But, do I want to see Donald Trump, pay out $1,000 a pop for this? No. But on the other hand, Marshawn is doing him a favor. There's part of me that almost wishes that Trump would keep running his mouth and force Marshawn to throw him in jail. Do I want to see Donald Trump behind bars? Absolutely not. I don't want to see anybody behind bars or anybody go through what Trump's going through. Whether it be you or me or anybody else. I don't want to see this happen. But on the other hand, from a purely political standpoint, Juan Marshawn, or as some, who is it over on TBA says, Don Quixote Marchand. All right, I'm going to modify it. Don Juan Quixote Marchand. Don Juan Quixote Marchand. TBA, I think we're on to something here. Don Juan Quixote Marchand is doing Donald Trump the biggest favor, politically speaking, he could ever ask for. And I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right about this. He's going to go to jail. The Democrats are going to find a way somewhere between now and November to put Donald Trump behind bars. Or they're going to try real hard to do it. And I tell you what, as it stands right now, Marshawn's about as close as any Democrat could get to doing it. Which, by the by, could you imagine the reaction? Could you imagine the reaction among Democrats in Washington, D.C. and around this country if a picture goes on MSNBC or CNN or anywhere else of Donald Trump sitting in a jail cell? Oh my, there's going to be a collective orgasm. I swear, they're absolutely going to lose their minds with giddiness. They will. I mean, the reactions of seeing them grin like stupid fools on TV will be bad enough, but oh my God, thank God we're not flies on the wall behind closed doors, because I'm telling you what, they're going to collectively lose their minds. And I can't disagree with this either. The mugshot by itself drove his poll numbers up. You put him in jail and you're going to make this guy a martyr. I mean, maybe Marshawn thinks that he's flexing his muscles, or, to go to a point that, the lawyer and commentator Robert Barnes has made. You want to get an idea of just how far out of touch that the judicial establishment in the state of New York truly is. Keep on watching old Don Juan Quixote Marchand, and you'll get a real good idea about how out of touch he is. Yeah, I saw this one, Zippy, and you know what? Yeah, TBA says, look what the mugshot did for Trump's street cred with the black and Hispanic communities, and then it will backfire and boomerang. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, that's why I say that I have mixed feelings about this. I mean, like I said, take Trump out of the equation, okay? Would you want to see any person, if you knew all this, let's just take Trump's name off of it, put any other name in there, okay? And accord to them all the same things about Donald Trump. They were a president. They were a successful business person. They have a family. They have children. They have grandchildren. they're at a certain age in life, yada, yada, yada. Would you want to see any person go through what that person's going through? Heck no. I don't want to see anybody go through it, Donald Trump or anybody else. So that's one part of my brain. And the other part of my brain sitting here going, gone, Marshawn, gone. Do it. Do it. Hit him with a few more contempt orders. Go on and do it. Put him in jail for overnight. Go ahead and do it. And like I say, I don't want to see it happen to anybody. I don't want to see it happen to Trump or anybody else. But my goodness, could you imagine what happens if Donald Trump spends the night in the slammer? He'll win the election. That'll do it right there. That will put him over the top right there. So when I heard that news this morning about when I heard that about the contempt order, I was like, oh man, the Democrats are playing with fire here. They really are. They are just playing with fire. So yeah, that one kind of got me. But not all is not dark necessarily. Trump did get one piece of good news. I forget who it was who asked me about this. If it was TBA or WWG1. But it came out this afternoon. Donald Trump will be allowed to attend his son's graduation. This is from Breitbart, article by Nick Gilbertson. The judge overseeing former President Donald Trump's business records trial will allow him to attend son Barron Trump's high school graduation next month. Judge Juan Marchand announced on Tuesday that Trump could have the date of his son's graduation, May 17th, off, the New York Times reported. Quote, I don't think the May 17th date is a problem, Marchand said after waiting for weeks to issue a ruling on Trump's request. Marchand had previously acknowledged the request but refused to issue a ruling, as Breitbart News' Hannah Knudsen had noted, citing Business Insider. Quote, it really depends on if we are on time and where we are in the trial, Marchand had originally said, according to the outlet. Despite Marchand's ruling in Trump's favor on this front on Tuesday, he held the 45th president in criminal contempt and threatened him with jail time after ruling he violated the court's gag order, as Breitbart News' Wendell Husebo reported. So, yeah, how kind. Or to borrow a line from one of my favorite films, Blazing Saddles, that's mighty white of you. Appreciate that, Marchand. Mighty white of you indeed. So, yeah, you got that piece of good news. They don't care about the uprising from Trump in jail because they will... Ugh. Gypsy, you normally have extraordinarily good instincts, but and take this in the spirit which I intended. God, how I hope you're wrong. I really hope you're wrong. I love you, dear. I absolutely love you, but God, I hope you're wrong. Oh, goodness. That's true. Maybe, and that may be the reason that Marchand was willing to give him the 17th off. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with this judge, who can say? Who can say? Oh, so what else goes on? Oh, by the by. A couple of more stories for the evening, and then we'll bring it to a conclusion. Did you guys see thehill.com or hear about what Democrats are willing to do on behalf of the current Speaker of the House? This one, oh boy. I'm telling you right now, they are genuinely tempting. They are tempting Marjorie Taylor Greene. Check this out. I hope I don't ruin everybody's dinner with this, but check this out. Democrats say they will save Speaker Mike Johnson's job if Republicans try to oust him. Article by Kevin Freking from the Associated Press. House Democrats will vote to save Republican Mike Johnson's job Should some of his fellow Republican lawmakers seek to remove him from the position, Democrat leaders said Tuesday, likely assuring for now that Johnson will avoid being ousted from office like his predecessor, former Representative Kevin McCarthy. Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, has come under heavy criticism from some Republicans for moving forward with aid to Ukraine as part of a $95 billion emergency spending package that passed this month. It would take only a handful of Republicans to remove Johnson from the speakership if the Democrat caucus went along with the effort. But Democrat leaders took that possibility off the table. At this moment, upon completion of our national security work, the time has come to turn the page on this chapter of pro-Putin Republican obstruction, said a statement from the three top House Democrats, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, Catherine Clark, and Pete Aguilar. We will vote to table Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate the chair. If she invokes the motion, it will not succeed. The announcement from Democrats ensures that Johnson will survive the most difficult stretch of his tenure so far, which saw him struggle through internal GOP divisions to pass government funding, the renewal of a key surveillance program, and aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. To do so, Johnson was often forced to rely on votes from Democrats, creating an unusual governing coalition that has angered hard-right members who say their majority is being squandered. Okay. All right, let's get into this. You know, when I stop and think about it, it's not really, the top House Democrats said it best, quote, at this moment, upon completion of our national security work, the time has come to turn the page on this chapter of pro-Putin Republican obstruction. Okay, let me translate that for you. Hey, America, we got what we wanted, so your boy Johnson, he not going anywhere. We got what we want, and we're going to make sure we keep on getting what we want. So, Madge, honey, if you're thinking about trying to get him removed like you did McCarthy, forget it. Well, I'll say this. If the Republicans take the majority in the House come November, I do not expect that Mike Johnson's going to be Speaker come January. I just don't see it happening. I mean, I could be surprised. I could be shocked, but I just don't see it. I really don't. And it might be a trap. It might be. WWG1 over on Rumble says, another example of the uniparty. There are no Democrats or Republicans. It's the uniparty. Yeah. TBA says, I honestly hope the Dems do save Mike Johnson when the Republicans try to remove him. We'll show the nation just how uniparty everything's gotten. Yep. You ain't wrong. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that name too. That was funny. Yeah. I was doing my best. I was really doing my best. Now, there is one fascinating observation, and it was, let me see if I can find it real fast. And he says it better than I ever will, and his point is perfectly valid. Hang on just a second. Should have had this one pulled up when we got started, but ran a little bit late getting out of work this evening, so it was crazy trying to get things set up the way I wanted. But if I might say so myself, I don't think we're doing too bad here. Yeah, here it is. I want to show you guys something before I pull this up. I started off the top of the live stream talking about polling that's currently out there right now. And a lot of it came from Emerson College today. They did it on behalf of thehill.com. Well, aside from all the battleground states, they also went out and did polling on some of the major Senate races around the country. Now, if you remember back to the top of the live stream, Donald Trump's doing really, really well at this point in each of the battleground states. Some of them he's got a pretty good lead, some of them a tiny lead, and anywhere in between. The Senate candidates, on the other hand, not so much. In Arizona, according to Emerson's latest polling, Ruben Gallego, the Democrat, has a lead over Kari Lake. In Michigan, Slotkin, the Democrat, has a lead over Republican Mike Rogers. In Nevada, Rosen's got a lead over Brown. Rosen's the Democrat. In Pennsylvania, Casey's got a lead over McCormick. In Wisconsin, Democrat Tammy Baldwin has a lead over Hodve. The only person that's really doing real good right now, and that's barely, is that Republican candidate out of North Carolina for governor, Robinson, which I'm not going to lie, that dude intrigues me. But I bring all this up to say something. Now let me preface this remark. People like Kari Lake and I think Brown out in Nevada, they're more or less a MAGA America First kind of candidates. Okay. So the fact that they're down a little bit to the Democrat, not necessarily surprising. But I will say this. There was a comment made by Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, which, by the way, follow this guy. I'm telling you, you really want a good feel for what's going on. He's your dude. He made a point that's very valid. Betraying your voters isn't a great way to win elections. And he was commenting on all the leads that the Democrats have in all these Senate races around the country. There's an interesting trend at this point in all this polling that's being done. Trump is outpolling Republicans. In other words, here's their number, but Trump's doing better than they are. Well, why is that? Well, it could very well be that people are looking at the Republicans in the Congress, in the House, and the Senate, and they're like, why should I keep voting for you guys? You keep turning around and stabbing me in the back every time you get a chance. I give you money. I knock on doors for you. I make phone calls for you. I do everything else. And this is what you do to me. Maybe Barris is onto something, man. You could be right. Could be absolutely right. One last thing, and let me see. Yep, here it is. Here it is. Gypsy, God bless you for shooting this one over to me. I saw your message. A little earlier, Gypsy was talking about something that got slipped into the foreign aid bill they just passed. This is from Zero Hedge, and we'll end it on this. $3.5 billion slipped into Ukraine-Israel aid bill to supercharge mass migration from the Middle East. Article by Tyler Durden. We have the following. Tucked away in the $95 billion military aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan is a $3.5 billion slush fund to open new processing centers for Muslim migrants, in which Senator Eric Schmidt, Republican of Missouri, described as a bid to, quote, supercharge mass migration from the Middle East. And here's his tweet. Not only did the foreign aid package do nothing to secure our own border, it included $3.5 billion to supercharge mass migration from the Middle East. As Breitbart points out, the $95 billion package does not include any funds to help rebuild America's border defenses against illegal immigration, but it does contain $481 million to settle migrants in U.S. cities and, of course, the $3.5 billion to expand migration programs worldwide. The $3.5 billion was granted to the Department of State, which works with many international groups that feed and transport migrants on their way to the United States. Biden's deputies are now using the refugee programs as an adjunct to their diversity expanding equity migration policy. For example, Biden's deputies used the program in March to import 3,009 migrants from the safe and democratic countries of El Salvador and Guatemala. They are also using the refugee funds to expand migration routes from many African and Muslim countries. In March, they pulled in 12,018 people from the Congo, plus 16,732 migrants from the Muslim countries of Afghanistan, Syria, Pakistan, Iraq, and Eritrea, according to a report by Stacker.com. So, there you go. Our government at work. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. Woo! Baby. Just a load of fun, let me tell you. Unbelievable. Well, that's everything I've got tonight for chatting on the porch. And as always, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. It's always fun hanging out with y'all, and it's always good to be talking to you and hearing what you guys say and all that. And I do want to do a commercial, and I know this is going to make Up in Connecticut jump for joy. This Thursday night, we're going to have Dr. Robin McCutcheon, nationally known economist, returned for a chat on the electronic front porch. She will be here this Thursday night, May 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you can, swing on by, stop in, because if you've ever been around or heard this lady, you know that there's really nothing she won't say. The running joke that I have is, don't ever ask, someone like Robin McCutcheon what they really think unless you are truly ready to hear the answer, because bless your heart, she will tell you. So, yeah, she's going to be coming back. I am looking forward to talking to her, because it's always a load of fun to get into a conversation with Dr. McCutcheon. She is a true blessing in my area, geographically speaking, because she and I are proximity wise very close to each other. And I definitely want to get into a conversation with her thoughts about what's going on the campuses right now around the country. That's going to be something else. So she's going to be here this Thursday night, 7:00. Yeah, she is. She is so good and very commonsensical. That's part of what I love about her. So, I did not know this. There's a wait list? Really? I'll have to ask her about that. I will have to ask her about that. So yeah, this is our session of Chatting on the Porch, the solo show tonight. And oh, that's right, you got a birthday coming up. Did I hear this right, that today is your birthday? M169, is today the birthday, or is it one day this week? So, inquiring minds want to know. Just saying. Just want to say. And by the way, congratulations. It's not every day that a person turns 25. So, dear heart. Oh, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow is her birthday. Oh, okay. Well, dear heart, congratulations on turning 25. Like I said, it's not every day that a lady hits that wonderful age in life. So wonderful for you. Happy to death that you're turning 25. There you go. Anyway, keep your eyes up. I'm thinking about, matter of fact, I'm almost assured I'm going to do it. Keep your eyes open. I may do a live stream tomorrow night, given that Thursday night's going to be an interview. So keep your eyes open. And I'm thinking about doing one tomorrow night. I will let you guys know. And if I do, it'll be first thing in the morning when I let you know. We'll see what else is going on in the news that we want to talk about. So, charmer. You call me a charmer. Well, just appeal to my vanity. You'll get me every time. Anyway, you guys have fun as always. It's been a blast being with you. We'll probably be back on here tomorrow night, so keep your eyes open. I'll let you know for sure. We're going to be here Thursday night at 7:00. And in the meanwhile, remember those words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." God bless you guys. We'll see you later.